And obviously you've all got your sleeping bags in the rear until Saturday afternoon, like me, sleeping in the car park, because what else are you going to do? I can't, look, forgive me if it sounds like name dropping, but just so we all know where we're at the moment. So last night, after I watched the Arsenal lose, I switched on the Man City Real Madrid game. And at the end, I texted Jude Bellingham's dad, who, funny enough, I met here for the first time, and I sort of stayed in touch. I said, oh, you know, I thought, congratulations, living the dream. And he just sent back one word, torture. And I sent back rather more words saying, you don't know your ball, mate. You want to try a relegation scrap in League One if you want to. It has been, I mean, it's absolutely incredible and huge credit to the manager and to the players. And I think to the supporters too, who've kind of stuck with the team throughout, despite the fact that we decided to give the rest of the league a quarter of a season starters. That we're still in with a shout is a miracle. And after Tuesday night, we really are in with a shout. Okay, I went to Orient, good beat. Came to Carlisle, I couldn't believe it. I thought that's our lot, we're gone. No, we're still kind of come to Bristol Rovers. And then Tuesday night, I'm working in London all day, so I can't go to Burton. I'm in the car on the M40, we've all been there, haven't we? Listening, when Curtis Davis, when they went, oh, we've got to go back to the Pirelli. And Curtis Davis half nearly crashed the car. It's just unbelievable. So, look, it is going to be, one way or another, it's going to be a very, very exciting end to the season. 2 home games, 1 away. We won't have to renew acquaintances with Steve Evans, thank God for that. Hey Paul, your favourite. But we're here obviously to talk about Cheltenham. This fans forum kind of coincides with the publication of the accounts. So we will start, obviously David's with us, the Gaffer's with us, Clive's with us, John Murphy's here, Paul Godfrey's here. So there's lots of people to answer any questions that are going, but we will, because this kind of coincides with the publication of accounts, we'll start with if there are any shareholders here who would like to ask a question before we kind of just throw the floor open, then do get your hand up. As I say, David's here, whether it's, it might be to do with the financial news, Clive's here to help with that. Whatever you like really, but we do give first dibs, as it were, to any shareholders who are here who want to ask a question. Yes?
Yeah, thanks. Obviously we made a big loss in the last financial year that's just been declared. My first question is, have we any idea how it's going to work out for the current financial year, which will end in May? Secondly, I noticed that this season there's been a number of developments in terms of facilities for away fans, the drinking area, fan zone I think it's called, in the bowling club, the outside one here. Has that generated much more revenue for the club in order to get a stronger financial base for the future? And really, in terms of the training ground, I suppose this is my third question, the training ground, how is the finances of that working out? Basically, can we afford it? Is there any potential for development there?
Good.
Well, there's a lot of questions in there.
Yeah, you know me, Dave.
Let me answer the last one first about the training ground. Obviously, everybody knows that we're quite a freeholding that, and in terms of what we've got there, we've largely covered that in terms of historic reporting, but we've got a situation there where we funded approximately 50% of the purchase price. We borrowed some money, which obviously we're having to repay with interest charges, etc. But those costs equate approximately to what we were paying in rent. So in terms of expenditure, the outgoings on that are sort of level with what they would have been had we still been tenants, but of course it's our asset. In terms of redevelopment, there is an overage clause on that, which means that we cannot at the moment do anything in terms of, if you're thinking in terms of selling it and moving on or whatever, we would be foolish to do that at the present time, because if we did, we would have to share any increase in the value of the property since we bought it with people that sold it to us. So clearly, in terms of selling bits or selling portions of it with any views to move in or using the money to invest elsewhere, it would be unwise to do that for the foreseeable future. In terms of investing in the training ground, we'd love to put some money into the training ground. The facilities there are adequate, but they're a little bit tired. They need some, sprucing up a little bit, I think it's fair to say. Pitches, I think, obviously we'd like to see an improvement, and this year we've suffered quite badly with the weather, which has made it quite difficult to use them as much as we'd like to in the way we'd like to. But there are demands elsewhere on the finances in terms of the stadium. There are things we'd like to do at the stadium. So I think in terms of the training ground, the likelihood of any significant investment, unless there is new investment from outside, is probably very limited. So I think it's pretty much as you are. Obviously will be maintained, and we'll do what we can to make the pitches as good as we can, but major investment at the training ground is probably unlikely in terms of a 4G pitch, for example, in the next few years.
Turning to your current accounts coming up May, do you mean we did the loss last year, in paraphrasing, did the loss last year, how's the next lot?
Well, the accounts that were produced, as we'll all know, were the accounts for the season ended last year, a year ago. And they showed a loss of just over £500,000. I think this season there will be a loss, but it'll be a much smaller loss. Largely due to the fact that we've managed to realise an asset in terms of a player sale. I think that it's probably fair to say we haven't got, obviously, final accounts as yet at the end of the season. We don't know quite what the number's going to look like. But I would say that if we hadn't sold Will Goodwin, then the figures would probably look pretty similar to last year. So that's the picture for potentially 12 months' time when the next lot of accounts come through.
Well, the new fan zones, how's that working out?
Well, are you talking about the area immediately outside the bar, or are you talking about...
Well, both. the area that we got on the bowling club, which is a development this season, and I think a very positive. I'm just wondering how it's working out.
Well, you'll appreciate that we changed the catering providers to Igloo, Geddes and Igloo. I think it's fair to say that the improvements that these brought have been a bonus. I think that it's been better. Certainly in terms of the bowling club, that was something that Pete managed to negotiate with the bowling club. It hasn't made a significant difference to the club's finances because we operate, Pete is an independent contractor who comes and deals with it, and we get a payment from them every year plus a bit. So in terms of financial benefit, yes, there is some financial benefit, but it's not a massive difference.
Sorry, David, we're having trouble hearing you. We can't hear anything.
Is there any chance that the speakers could stand or maybe speak up just a little?
Yeah, sorry.
Is that
Sorry,
a reasonable request?
Sorry,
I can't hear that. Could you repeat it?
I hope you got the gist of it.
Yeah, everything's fine. Everything's fine, don't worry. That's the upshot, really. Yes, any other shareholders who want to ask anything before we kind of...
I think we've been addressed.
has Cambridge...
Yeah, that's something that we've been grappling with for quite some time. I mean, in terms of Cambridge Place, we all know that it's been, the old properties have been demolished and it's been a site there for some time. I've had meetings with the council on a fairly regular basis. The difficulty with Cambridge, from the council's point of view, is that they want to redevelop part of the footprint around here. And the footprint, for the council's perspective, is obviously not only this stadium, but Cambridge site and the parking site. Obviously the council property is also the bowling green. So the council look at the whole thing as a whole. There's a little bit of a blockage, and I think it's probably fair to say that at the moment there's some elections going on, local elections, and certainly the last time that I spoke to the council, I know that there are developers behind the scene, but they're not really very forthcoming in terms of telling us exactly what is going on. There is the possibility that we may be able to get a licence from the council to use Cambridge until it's redeveloped, and I'm certainly looking into that at the present time. If we did do that, it would probably be a licence for no more than some additional parking, and it would be short term. It would be something that we would have only until such time as the council required it for redevelopment. There's no real possibility of the club acquiring the freehold in that.
Does the council not see some value to the town of having a reasonably thriving football club?
Yes, certainly it does, but it's also under considerable pressure to provide housing.
Can't we do them both?
Well,
Send in to the next meeting. You're obviously wasting your time. Send in.
yeah, it's a bit of a political issue as much as it is a practical one for us.
I'm not doubting.
No, not at all. Not at all. I understand what you're saying. So yes, there is a possibility we might get some parking there in the foreseeable future. I'm working on that, but whether or not anything else develops, I doubt it, frankly.
Good. Any more for any more? From shareholders, just before we... Okay, good. Let's kick on. So Darrell, we're home and host, and we're fine?
Sorted.
Sorted. Good, that's all we wanted to hear. Right, I hope you've had a good evening. Now, it is, I mean, obviously you have had a career full of kind of battles, and a lot of them have been at the other end of league tables, to be fair. But I guess you're used to this kind of thing. But this has been some ride, this one, isn't it?
Yeah, it certainly has. I'm not used to it. And my tick are any good as well. I kick every ball, so yeah, I've enjoyed it. I have thoroughly enjoyed it. We've had a challenging 5-6 weeks for a lot of different various reasons, but we're still in the mix. Week to go, in our hands. So the boys are in good spirits, and we'll keep going.
Yeah, there was a moment. Was it Exeter we scored first? Who was it? We scored first.
Exeter.
Yeah, Exeter. Geezer next to me goes, "We're out of the bottom 4." And then the referee took control of that. So we're still waiting to just get above the line. But as I say, the fact that we still can, I mean, obviously there are things that you won't enjoy about this, the tension and the nerves and all that, like everybody else. But this group, that some were here, some you've brought here, how they've kind of responded to the situation, responded to you, Darrell, that's got to be enormously satisfying, enormously enjoyable.
Yeah, it has, but it's a little bit disappointing in recent weeks that we haven't took advantage of getting ourselves out of the bottom 4. You know, and I've got high expectations of the players, and we've certainly in the last few weeks let 1 or 2 opportunities go away, shall we say. But what I will say is that the group are very much together and they are fighting.
Shush, please.
Shut up.
Excuse me, at the bar, we're just struggling for people to hear.
The group are very much together. There's no hard luck stories, but I think we've been very unfortunate with injuries to key personnel at certain points. I don't think we've had the fair share of luck as well. Bolton, Derby, Exeter spring to mind that we got apologies for. But we're still in with it, still in with a great chance, and even though we're carrying the injuries we're carrying, everybody in the change rooms, followed by obviously our result Tuesday night, are in confident spirits. And you guys are going to get right behind them on Saturday. So if you didn't
Where did that come from, by the way?
Ah,
You mean straight after a game of football, where did the guinea pigs come from?
no, dude, yeah, no, I don't even know. The adrenaline's pumping, and I just thought, listen, we've got Lincoln coming here Saturday, and it's up to my players to lift our fans. But what I'd like to see is a real good atmosphere from the start. I thought the Bristol Rovers fans, they turned that into a home game. You can't have that Saturday. You know, and that's what I'm trying to ask for. You know, listen, it is up to the players, and we haven't put in very good home performances in the last few recent weeks at home. So I sort of understand that, and I get that, and they've missed a few opportunities. But we're in the here and now, and the here and now is that we, you know, I think the players deserve that support, and hopefully we can turn it into a home game on Saturday against Lincoln, because they're gonna start the away end, no doubt, Paul, aren't they? Or are pardon? Yeah.
Just behind the goal.
So we don't give them 3/4 of the stand, which is always a bonus. That's a bonus. So if we can get behind the lads, and hopefully we can put on a good performance for you guys.
No, absolutely. Is Matty Taylor struggling through, or is he just seems so vital to our chances at the moment? Is he struggling through physically, or is he okay?
It's in an ideal world, he'd be a couple of weeks away. In an ideal world, but we're not in that ideal world. And Matty's like Lloydie, like Freestone, Davis. There's quite a few of the players that have gone through the pain barrel, been going through injuries that they shouldn't really be playing with. Whereas Matty, he is an injury risk. That's what he is, but needs must. You know, he is that bit of quality in the final third. You see his goal the other night. He gives confidence to the other boys. He's a big game player, and that's why I wanted to bring him to the club.
And the young lad who signed from Bloxham, Jordan Thomas, has surprised me. Has he surprised you? I mean,
yeah, he has a little bit, to be fair. Listen, I knew we were going to get somebody with potentially some talent. You know, obviously did our work on him with the videos and the games I've seen of him, so I knew he had talent. But then it was a case of him adjusting quickly to full-time football, and he's done that well. He's been really good as an impact player, but it's certainly not out of my mind to start more games. You know, he started against the Carlisle game where we didn't play well as a team, but he's I won't tell you in the team, but he is in my mindset to start games. Yeah, because his fitness levels have got a lot better. We had to work on that. It's a big jump from part-time Tuesday night training, Thursday night training, to then training every day. We've had to build his strength up as well, so he's on a serious gym program, and we'll just keep working away with the lad without putting too much expectation on him.
no, brilliant. Well, absolutely, he's the kind of player that fans stop. You know, you get one sight of him, don't you?
It's all right.
And you kind of expect, and he often, you know, that penalty that he ended up getting called for against Exeter, just perfect case in point. He's taken 3 players out of the game, and they've mugged him off, and
The honest thing, I mean, for me is that with the group that we've got, am I playing football like how the way I like football to be seen and played? No, because we haven't got the players. You know, I've been trying to find results to get results to keep us in the league in different ways. Now, early on in the season, when Streety was here, Goody was fit, Lloydie was fit, we had a really good high press. Where we could get after teams, force them back. Now we've lost a little bit of our press through personnel changes, and you know, then it's up to me and the group to try and find different answers, and we've been chipping away and working away to get ourselves into this position. Because it's not easy. It's not easy. It's always difficult because we're small fish in a big league, if that makes sense. But we're trying to find a way, I've got to try and find a way in these last 3 games to get us over the line.
And we're still with a chance, mate. That's the one. It's absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, it's the hope I can't stand. But yes, sorry, I'm rabbiting here. Just questions from the floor. Any questions for David or for Darrell? Yes, young man.
Yeah, a couple of questions, one for David and one for Darrell. First one is, you mentioned about Cape Bridge. What happening about trying to get a new stand? Is there anything sort of active going on about that, getting people who would be willing to finance it into the plan? And my second question is, it's a very awkward one for you, Darrell.
No.
Are you going to be here next season?
Oh, good, you can answer both of them.
Well, in answer to the second question, I very much hope Darrell will be here next season, as I'm sure we all do. So, yeah, we'll be working hard to try and persuade him to stay, and hopefully we can get the results we need over the next 3 games and be in a position to be able to do that more easily.
Good.
In answer to your other question, are you talking about this stand, that
Yeah,
stand,
this
or
stand.
both stands?
This one.
Right, yeah.
I think the council must be getting a bit frustrated with that land vacant there, and there's a desperate shortage of housing. So they've been quite, want to see some finish to it, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the council necessarily see the redevelopment of this stand and Cambridge Place as you know, joint projects. They don't. That's why I talk about the whole footprint in terms of the council involvement, because, for example, if they're able to develop a Parkland site, there's a community centre that will need to be rehoused. If a community centre needs to be rehoused, then perhaps that could be part of a redevelopment of this stand. But it will need funding from the council to help us do that. We haven't got the funds. We haven't got the 12 million quid it's going to take to rebuild this stand. That's probably what it's going to take.
We could have a whip round now.
Yeah, we could do a bit of fundraising, couldn't we? Yeah, absolutely. So, of course, we'd love to redevelop this stand. It could open up so many more possibilities for us for non-match day income, and indeed match day income. And that's the problem. Is that in terms of income streams, we've got a bit of a glass ceiling. You know, we've got limited assets to sell here. We've got limited facilities, and it needs capital investment in order to increase the income stream so that we can then continue to do within our resources, our income resources. And it's fair to say I've had conversations with the principal owners. I've got some discussions coming up with them again soon. We've got to look at new ways, not only of raising more commercial revenue, and working hard to achieve that, but we've also got to try and find sources of new investment. That in all of these things, when people say to me, you lack ambition, it's not a question of lacking ambition, it's a question of being able to find and generate enough money to do what we want to do. I could tell you 101 things I'd love to do around here, but they all cost money. And our principal business is a football club. We need the best team that we can have out on that pitch. Of our income, over half of it goes on player wages. That's just player wages. And then you've got wages for all the other staff. If we want to employ a decent manager like we've got, it costs money. I'm not saying that we need to have too much by any means. You know, you look around, you know, you've got medical staff, you've got all the analysts, you've got all the provision of food and everything else that goes around running a professional football team. It's an expensive business, you know, and the easiest way for me to say, yes, we could spend X, Y, and Z on things around here would be to say, right, we'll spend £500,000 quid less on players, but we won't be in this league. We won't even be in League Two.
Well, that doesn't build you a new stand. I mean, the money you can generate, or the money you could save, is kind of, when it comes to a big capital project like replacing this stand, that doesn't, it's not that kind of money. It's got to be out there.
No, absolutely, it's not, Tom, but you know, there are things I'm sure that people would think, well, you could improve this, you could improve that, you could do a little bit here, you could do a little bit there. If we were saving £500,000 a year, it would be more realistic to think that we could improve the stand at Prestbury Road end. You know, those sorts of things could be done if that sort of income was freed up. But the reality of it is that our budget for players is already the lowest in this league, as everybody knows. And to contemplate cutting that budget means that our team won't be as strong. Simple as that.
It's such a frustration to see after we have these games and after we've done so well that we see that our figures for the crowds and everything, we could get another couple of thousand on that, you know, with the energy and which is around the club, you know, and unfortunately that these days it seems that, you know, 5,000 or 5,050 it seems, you know, the maximum that we can sort of have, and you know, whereas, you know, if we had if there was that excitement and such like, and a couple of players, you know, I know as you say the money's the thing. It seems that is a real bind, a real frustration to some of the players and some of the well, not to the players, to the supporters.
I'm not quite sure what your question is there. So when
No, it's more of a statement, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, more of a statement.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
We can't do like you say. We can't do anything unless we have that money and such.
I think there is a question in there, David, which is about whether there are ways, whether there are ways to look. Every now and again we'll get 6 or 7, but that's because we sell out that end and round the corner.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? When a big club comes here, we can do 6 or 7.
Yeah.
When it's little old us and whoever, then I'm sure that the board must talk about it. I'm sure you must think about it. Ways to get more people here. I mean, it's incredible, and it's not a new situation.
No.
I remember during Wardy's time, when John Ward was manager here, we had 7 games, 7 consecutive wins. Was it in League One, Paul? 7 consecutive home wins, and the attendances actually went down each week. I don't know. There was a festival on. People were off to Gloucester to watch rugby. I don't know what it is.
That's why I've been losing a few ones.
Yeah, keep the attendances up. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we love being miserable on that Prestbury Road, you know. Actually, don't worry about development. That little beer area at the back of the Prestbury Road, everybody's happy. No matter, just standing and watching football is fine. It's fine. Yes.
I think just one further point. Sorry, just to go back on that. I mean, I think if we could improve the facilities and the match day experience, I think that would help to stabilise numbers probably a little bit, because there are people that possibly come for the big games, if I can call it that, and we've got a tremendous base of fans, regulars who come and sing their hearts out. Brilliant. But you see, okay, whenever the bigger teams come, we might get 6,000. Of which there might be 1,500 visited fans. So that means there's 4,500 of our home fans here for those games. But then you go back to a game against a less popular team or a less well-known team, and you'll be back down to probably 3,000 home fans, plus the away following. And I mean, it may be fair to say if the experience around the ground with better facilities was better, then some of those people, excuse me, may come back more often. I don't know. I think also the other thing that we've struggled with a little bit is the number of seats we've got, because there's quite a lot of games when we will sell out of seats and have standing available, but the standing doesn't all get taken up. I think that, you know, fans do probably expect, or a greater number of fans, or a greater proportion of fans do probably expect to be able to get a seat these days, and a seat with a good view. And again, that really goes back to the facility, you know, the stand, what we've got, ground. And I think that may be a factor which would help to regularise the numbers a little bit. So yeah, obviously gate receipts are critical for us. You know, the more we can garner from ticket sales, the better it is, and the more income we've got. So yeah, it's obviously a matter of consideration and concern.
3 more in order, yes.
I don't want to swerve his question, so I don't want to think that swerve bit about me staying.
Oh, okay.
All right. Well, thanks anyway. I don't want to swerve it because I'm not that sort of guy. When I came to the club, for a challenge, you know, initially sitting down with the board, and the challenge was, all I've been fixated on is keeping this club in League One, where nobody thought it was possible. So I joined for that reason, and I'm still massively focused in that while the dream's still alive. Enjoying my time at the club, real good people to work for and want to do well for. The supporters are fantastic. And my biggest thing is, and I had a good chat with the chairman today, is having a plan. you know, and I don't mean by a plan going get me extra £500,000, £1 million on my playing budget. I mean a plan of how we can improve things and how we're going to move forward and how we're going to do it. And you know, and a lot of those answers come to the finances, which I totally understand. But I like to, you know, I like to be here at a club that moves forward with that. You know, one of my biggest frustrations has been the training ground, and you know, we've had an unfortunate with the rain. I get that, but you know, I'd much rather have better facilities, better everything in those departments where I can make my players better, rather than saying to the chairman, go and give me £500,000 on extra players. Does that make sense? Because I think that's what this club's about. It's never been a club about, right, we're going to go and spend money on players, we're going to pay ridiculous wages and get ourselves in financial trouble. I knew that when I came here. I knew that wasn't the case. But I do want to see us growing, which you guys do as well.
Well, we're all very pleased to hear that.
So did you get a satisfactory answer from the chairman when you had that conversation?
Yeah, no, he said.
He said, yeah, the plan is, stay up, you hang about, and we'll see how things go.
Have we got a plan?
Pardon?
Have we got a plan?
Working towards a plan. I've got stakeholders meeting next week where I'll sit down with the stakeholders and discuss further forward. You know, because I want to put my ideas forward of what I think's right moving forward, and what we need to do better. Because I said it to the chairman, I don't want to swim in treacle every year. You know, I want to keep growing, and I want the club to keep growing. But what I will say is that I know these guys, they all do the best. Honestly, they genuinely do. And I think if the chairman had 10 million, I think he'd be putting his money into the football club. There's a lot of people who care about this football club, and everybody's heart's in the right place. Because trust me, I wouldn't be sat here if it wasn't the case.
Yes, how about that?
David, you said earlier that we lost £500,000 last year, and we could lose the same again, maybe this year, but for the sale of Will Goodwin. So what happens if we don't sell a Will Goodwin every year? How do we survive if we don't sell a Will Goodwin every year? Because that's the way it seems. And also, we're hearing a lot about issues, a lot about problems, but we're not hearing about how we're going to solve these problems. And I mean, this stand needs replacing because it's fallen apart. It's been the same for 4 years. Nobody can sit in it. It needs replacing. So we need somebody. We can't keep kicking that can down the road, because that seems what we keep on doing at this club. I've been coming to these things for God knows how long, and all we talked about is when we get a new stand. Well, when we get a new stand, well, we need some action. We need some proactivity. Someone needs to grasp the nettle and say we've got to do this, because this club's not going to progress without while these facilities are like they are. This club's not going to progress because it's not making enough money. So we need to find a way of sorting this out so this club can make more money and this club can move forward. Darrell wants the club to move forward. We all want the club to move forward. But this club's not going to move forward unless we can change the facilities and make more money. It seems as simple as that, really. So that's what we need. We need some proactivity and somebody grasping the nettle and say, right, we've got to take this club forward. The only way to do it is to rebuild this stand and possibly over there, but mainly this one, because without it, where are we going? We've hit a glass, you said we've hit a glass ceiling. We have, and we can't go any further. And this is the most, I believe, the most important thing to do for the future of this football club.
Well, obviously, Mark, I completely accept that we need more investment. We said that right at the top. You know, it's as simple as that. I don't own this football club. None of the board members have.
Have we approached the people who own 50-odd% of this football club? Have we approached them and said, can you help us? Can you help us to build this stand? Can you help us?
I have regular conversations and meetings with the main shareholders. They are fully aware of the position and what we want to achieve. But, you know, you see other clubs that have these magnificent facilities and they're returning accounts 3, 4, 5, 6 million losses.
No,
we're not going to get into that position.
That's because
they're
spending it all on players.
Pardon?
That's because they're spending it all on players.
Or whatever they're spending it on, they're spending it. Mark, we're not doing that. We're not going bust. Okay?
No,
and
to
yeah. Okay. And so yes, the answer is we do keep the stakeholders informed of the position. We do strive to get more money, whether it's from commercial income. We are actively, because over the last 5 or 6 years, we've done really well. We've accumulated reserves, which we've partly invested, but when the years come, for example, when we do make a loss like we did last year, we've got the money to be able to cover it. You know, we're not in debt. We are not. We haven't got a bank overdraft. Okay, that's something to be proud of. We're playing in League One without a bank overdraft. The year before last, we turned a profit of 500,000. This year, or 400,000. This year, we've made a loss. So if you look at it over the 2 years, that's sustainable. But what we've got to try and do is we've got to try and return to profit. We've got to try and return to a position where there's enough income to sustain the club and to improve the club. But it's not easy.
Can we do that if we don't sell a Will Goodwin every year?
Not as we stand at the moment, no. No, we can't. On this income, we have the things that have helped us over recent years have been Moisa, Marlon Pack, FA Cup against Manchester City. During the COVID year, we actually cut the costs and we ran the place really efficiently, as against other clubs who made losses. And we've had a few other players that we've sold for less sums than we've made on, say, Moisa. So, you know, the academy, we've sold players. Lad went to Southampton, Will Armitage. There has been a fairly steady flow year on year, whereby we have brought in transfer fees.
But that doesn't happen every year, does it?
Well, it pretty much has, actually.
No, but
it pretty much
you
has.
have to strike it lucky then.
Why do you say that, Mark? Why do you think that?
But
Why do you think that we cannot produce players that are going to be attractive to other clubs, and we're going to get a transfer fee from them? Sorry.
Every year though. Have to keep doing it.
Yeah, I think Wimbledon have a policy whereby they have to raise transfer fees from players of £750,000 every year.
So can we expect Tom King to be next?
Quite possibly. If someone comes along and offers £500,000 to Tom King as a youngster, the board are going to have to consider it.
David, can I just add that 25 years ago, Frank Toohey, Dave Courtney, Arthur Hayward said exactly the same. This club cannot survive unless we sell Brett Angel, Mark Boylan, Chris Townsend, Brian Hughes, and we did. And that's what the club do. And it's been doing it from that day to this. Paul Baker came in, Steve Cottrell came in, and that long chain has gone on right going back since we sold Richard Wilkes when Bob Etheridge was manager. And we still do it now. Unless somebody comes in to put huge amounts of money in, comparable with what happens on the hill, that's what we do. Nobody in this room would have expected the club to get 450,000 for Will Goodwin. So basically the people who arranged that should be congratulated rather than criticised.
Yeah.
Who's to say, what's Thomas going to be worth? What's Street going to be worth? Thomas is worth £1 million. If he goes the same way as Moisa, that's what people pay. It's what we do.
Yes, James.
No, sorry. I will come to you. Yes.
The club seems to be in a time zone at the moment. I mean, 8 years ago, well, 20 years ago, when they come up from non-league football into league football, the ground was flat. There's nothing very cool. Within about 6 years, and Steve got through them. You got the main stand built, you got the women's road stand built, and then it's all stopped in the last 8 years. Nothing's happened. You haven't invested money, you say you haven't got money, okay. The only way to get the legal with the club is to invest money in the club and put bums on the seats. That way, people will start coming and watching games. Give the manager more money. He needs more money to invest in a better side. You can't get players in what the budget you're given. It's the lowest budget in the first division, and it's also one of the lowest budgets in the second division. So why do all these other clubs manage and you can't?
Well,
they do it, don't they? There's a lot of little clubs there.
Yeah, okay.
If you look at that main that stand in there, that stand in there, it's terrible. It's a non-league stand. You don't encourage players to come here. You bring them to this. It's virtually becoming a non-league ground.
Yeah, in playing in League One with a decent team on the pitch, yeah.
What?
I said playing in League One with a decent team on the pitch.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when Steve Cottrell, when we came up from the non-league, yeah, those stands were built with a lot of grant money. Okay, those grants are no longer available.
They're not available.
Number one, no. Okay, they're just not available. In terms of give the manager some more money, the investment follows. That'll happen. Yeah, I'm not putting money in my back pocket. Trust me. Every halfpenny that comes into this club and more goes out. And no, you are saying that.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying
And compare our accounts to those of other big clubs. Okay, would you like us to have a 3, 4, 5, 6 million pound overdraft? Banks won't lend us money.
Well, look, you show a bit of commitment and give the manager more money.
Trust me, there's
Trust
commitment. Trust
You're all tight.
tight.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
keeping it.
With all due respect, there's got to be the money. There's got to be the money. With all due respect, there's got to be money there in order to spend it. The alternative, I remember, end of last
Put the seats and then you'll get money there.
well, fine, and then it can be spent. But you've got to put the bums on seats first, don't you? I remember the last game of last season. Steve Gallen, the director of football at Charlton Athletic, said, "Oh, you know, we ended up, by the way, not getting beat by Charlton, who inhabit a first division ground and have got." So I said, "Oh, we had financially we had quite a good year, Steve." This obviously would have been the previous year when we made 400 grand. The year we made 400 grand, Charlton, Steve said, the same season, Charlton made a loss of 9 million. If we look at going, sorry, this isn't for me to say, but if we look seriously at the path of following Charlton, I'm not saying follow them all the way to 9 million, but we get on that path, don't matter what the ground looks like, you won't have a club. There won't be a club. It's old-fashioned, it's very conservative, it means keeping aspirations low, but this is fairly unique what's going on here. And I just feel, obviously you've been watching Cheltenham longer than I have, but I look, and I go, this club, Portsmouth are crown champions the other night. We drew 0-0 down there and beat them 2-1. Have you got any idea what their wage bill is?
Yeah.
We cannot follow that route. We have to find another route. When you've got, it's absolutely right about the standard facilities. You're absolutely right. But where does that money come from? All right, 1 in 3 clubs in the Football League now, 1 in 2 in the Premier League, 1 in 3 in the Football League now are funded by American owners, American hedge funds. So, do we go and find an American who fancies Cheltenham? I don't know. We have to put the bums on the seat. We have to make the money in order to spend it. We are in a league, and I don't just mean League One, I mean a football league, Premier League even more, where they don't play to those rules. They spend the money before they've earned it. And that's why they'll lose £9 million.
Look at Wigan. Look at Bury.
Oh, hey, look at the teams we're playing against. Who went to Derby? Who went to Derby?
Yeah.
You're sitting there, 27,000 people. And apart from us 700, pardon my French, they're just miserable. Because they've seen a great club spend beyond its means. Year after year after year. Chasing something. Who knows what. Because they think they should be in the Premier League. Bolton are the same. Just a bunch, it's misery. I mean, you know, it's not been all that much fun this season down here, but I mean, that is proper misery. They're going, oh, we shouldn't be here. We shouldn't be bust. We shouldn't be in League One playing Cheltenham. But they are. They are. And I just, like I say, the base we're starting at, you spend the money before you've earned it.
Yeah.
And seriously, it's gone.
Yeah.
It's gone. Yes.
One thing that puzzles me, I'm a person who wants to stand, I don't want to sit, and I'm happy standing there and all the rest of it. But I'm looking down at the Hazelwood stand, and I've been away in most of the grounds in this country, and there's very, very few spectators can enjoy the facilities that we're giving to our away spectators in the Hazelwood. So my question is, when sometimes it does look as if they're coming 2 or 3 taxis, why are they occupying the entirety of that stand? Because to me, if we know full well, and I don't know how many Lincoln are going to bring this week, but they're not going to fill that Hazelwood stand, I doubt. Fair enough. Most times they wouldn't be. Most of the clubs we play in our league are not filling that stand. They're not even filling half of it. Why can't we sell? Why can't we dispose those away spectators to our advantage when we get shoved up the side in this ground, shoved up the side in that ground? Why can't we make better use of what facilities we actually have and encourage more people in and around the Cheltenham area to come to this club?
Well, are you there sort of asking me why we give the
entirety of the stand?
Police and safety reasons, because that is the only place where they can be dropped off, brought in and taken out without difficulty. The concept, I mean, I agree with you in many ways, that the sensible thing would be to make that a home end, or for an end for home supporters, and to make the Presby Road end for the away
That isn't what I'm
supporters.
arguing, because I wouldn't want to lose the Presby.
No, but from a facility point of view, which is what you're saying, why are we giving the best facilities to the away supporters?
I'm thinking of adding to our capacity. I'm thinking there's a lot of empty seats most matches. That's, by the way, I'm not attacking the board in any way, shape or form. I'm massively supportive of what we do, and I agree with everything that's said about how we need to be sustainable. All I'm trying to do is find a way that works to this club's advantage rather than to the away spectators.
I think that in the majority of cases, the only time that we would probably have enough demand to sell part of the Hazelwood stand is when the big clubs come.
Yeah.
And when the big clubs come, their allocation is to that end. So I'm not sure that if we made half of the Hazelwood stand available to home supporters, if it wasn't full, that there would be much take-up.
Yeah, but if there was a regular availability of additional quality seating,
Yeah.
because a lot of people don't want to be anywhere other than in the Colin Farmer. And Hazelwood is comparable to the Colin Farmer. So what I'm saying is, if you were selling those seats regularly, I think our core support would rise.
So, for half of our games, we sell out seating. So probably about half our games, half our league matches, all seated in the house are sold. That's away end, all the other ends. Okay, so there's only half your matches a season, which tend to be your lower supported teams. Yeah, it tends to be the less attractive side of games. So yes, we could look at that. I think in the past we've done things like Kids for Quid incentives. When we haven't got a big attractive team, we have sectioned some off. But you can't section a large amount of that stand off, because you almost got to go past the tunnel for security reasons. So you've only got a little section of the board. So I think the only games where you could possibly do it are where you're playing the lesser teams, and that stand doesn't sell out anyway for those games. So there are certain games where we could look at it next year, but you'd have to be coinciding with an incentive. The risk in then is a lot of the incentives you give out are to children's teams or grassroots teams, and then you've got the risk of putting them next to an away support. Not general type of away supports, but you do have them run that risk as well. But for half of our games each year, we sell out of every season, pretty much every season in the house.
Yes.
So just to pick up on what you said, Tom, football clubs absolutely have to live within their means. There's no way you can spend more.
Well, they don't apparently.
No, but
80% of them don't.
Yeah, this club has to actually absolutely maintain that. I'm slightly worried by the change of rhetoric from what we usually hear at these forums, David. You said that we're going to be almost reliant on selling a player every year. That is not living within our means. That is spending on above that and hoping that football fortune comes our way. I assume that's not the club's business plan, because that to me is a massive red flag that we would set out to lose money and hope.
No, we don't set out to lose money and hope. We don't budget for any returns, for example, in the FA Cup. We don't budget for much in the way of cup returns. We're conservative in the way that we plan.
Just as well.
Just as well. Just as well, yes, absolutely. So, no, I mean, a figure doesn't go in our budget plan for the forthcoming season, which says we're going to be getting £500,000 in transfer fees. But Mark's question was effectively, you know, do we have to sell players? Well, you know, on the swings and roundabouts of things, 400,000 profit 1 year, money in the bank, as it were, covers the loss for this year. We sell a player along the way.
Well, hang on, sorry, you said that the loss, the Will Goodwin will stop the loss this year.
Yep.
And then there's still the £500,000 loss from last year.
Yeah,
So
which comes from the preceding year's profit.
Okay. And the second of all, it's been sort of mentioned a couple of times here, is people want to hear a plan for what's going to happen rather than what the issues are. I just wonder what the board is doing to put that plan into place. And I think everybody wants to hear, and we know this as a trust, we're thinking about what we need to be doing by 2030, setting a plan for what we want to achieve. Is the club going to do something similar? Because I think everybody is desperate to hear what the plan for the future is.
Well, obviously, what I've been asked in the past is what the club's ambition is, and certainly, you know, I've said that the ambition is to become an established League One club, and to try and remain in this league for a period of time so that we are a recognised League One club. This season, we are hopefully going to achieve that. I'm confident we will achieve it, but it's been a struggle, and we haven't yet got to the stage where we are an established League One club. We've got to continue to build on that. It's no good for people to say what's the ambition and me to say, oh well, I think
I'm not saying that
no, can I finish? Can I finish?
Yeah.
You know, it's no good for me to say here when I'm asked what the ambition is and to pacify everyone by saying, oh, we'll be in the Premiership in 3 years' time. Of course we're not. That's not the plan at all. The plan is to stay in this league. Now, in terms of how we achieve it, I think which is the point that you're asking, isn't it?
No, I'm saying I don't question anybody's ambition for one moment. Everybody wants the best for this football club. I want to know how we're going to stretch our ambition, how we're going to do better, how we're going to actually plan and give us all something that we can really believe in. That okay, we're moving forward as a club.
Sure.
Even if it's just a dusty document,
Yeah.
I think people want to see it, and people want to know that there is this. That you're actually thinking of the future. We're not questioning ambition. We just want to see a plan.
Yeah. Well, of course, we're always thinking of the future. I mean, year on year, we've got to have not just next year, but the season after and the season after. This is why we continually engage with the council. This is why we continually keep the shareholders appraised of what's going on. We need more investment. That is the trigger to the plan, which obviously will then be redevelopment of this stadium. But until the investment comes, it all comes back to investment.
The question was, is there a 5-year plan? That's the question.
There is not a written 5-year plan, no.
Should there be?
Should there be as a business?
I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm just saying, should there be? Is it something that we maybe need to think of as a football club?
Yeah, definitely.
So why isn't that?
Yeah, to back a couple of things up and just try and explain a few things as well. So I'll go back to the question about player sales, okay? And can we sustain player sales every year? Okay? Yes, the answer is yes, you can, and that could be part of your plan. So there is a strategy, okay, behind some of our player sales we've made, there's been a strategy behind them. Okay, so it's not a question of just going, oh, that player's done well this year. It's about what players you buy, look at what sellable assets are them. We've come away from that a little bit this year because needs must was a little bit in January. Okay, so we've come off strategy a little bit in January because we were in a situation where it was a little bit needs must. Okay, as a club, we've probably got to get back onto strategy as we look at transferring those ahead. So there was a strategy behind those player sales, okay, and looking at what players we were signing, okay, and whether those players had resale value. Not every time, you know, if you went back to the start last summer, and I said to everyone which player we're going to sell in January, Will Goodman wouldn't have been top of that list, okay, from anyone. But he came good. But there was 2 or 3 that could have come good. And so that was a strategy there, to go and buy 2 or 3 players and go and get 2 or 3 players for your ongoing sellable assets.
Okay, so we come away from that a little bit in January, and as a club, that's what we need to go back to, because that's what we rely heavily on. Okay, and if it doesn't happen one year, that's why you need cash reserves. Okay, because not every year it might not happen, but if you continue to go on that train and you believe in the right coaches, okay, and you get the right players in, and you've got the right coaches that can turn those players around and improve them, and that's where you can have a trading model, okay, that can sustain the club going forward. Okay, so that's one. You go to the stand, yes, 100%. As a board, we probably haven't got a vision on how do we achieve this stand. It's a big task to tackle. You know, £12 million is a big task to tackle. There isn't 2 or 3 investors that can kind of just come along, because you're talking major investment. So yes, as a board, we probably haven't got a long-term vision of how we face the stand. Yes, we still look at it regularly, and yes, we still talk about it, but it is quite a one to tackle. It's quite a hard one to tackle. Okay, so that's probably why that one, you know, the can has been kicked down the road a little bit on that. Okay, might not be what people want to hear. I'm just trying to be a little bit honest, and that's where that one is.
Don't know how I think you plan for.
Sorry?
Don't Harkington like think planning for.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying, I'm just saying that's where we are. Okay, so yes, we need to look at that and go, right, how do we get to that 12 million? Because at the moment, 12 million is quite a big scary number. You know, so yes, I'm just saying that's where we are as a board. We're probably a little bit at fault as well. Okay, we look at it and go, that's a little bit hard to achieve. So we do, we kick the can down the road to a little degree. Okay? But the other thing is, and I know people want to see plans, this is going to be hard to achieve, but it's all the other areas, and that's where we need to look at a bit more, and that's where we've got to drive. It's, okay, this is what our resources are, so if we write a plan, what do we achieve within these resources? Okay, how do we improve year on year? Okay, catering got improved this year. That was a big thing that everyone was saying to us last year, needed to be improved. So there's small wins as well along the way. That's something we tackled in the summer. Going back to the gentleman's question earlier on, yes, it didn't bring a massive sum, but it improved. There was a good figure extra that we're now generating from the catering, from having the away fan zone, okay, and that are improvements. So there's lots of your plans come from small things, long term as well. Okay, so that's where we need to try and drive more of the small wins, how to improve little areas, quick wins, outside bar area, think's done brilliant, can we make that bigger for our home supporters? Because that's one that's been good. Support team are happy, sports teams like it, how do we make it bigger? So there's lots of other little wins as well, which would form then you're generating extra revenue.
I know you haven't addressed them, but you're familiar with a lot of clubs at this level and the level below.
Yeah.
Purely in football terms, if I said to you, okay, here's Cheltenham, just that question about 5-year plan, would you be able to conceive of, in footballing terms, a 5-year plan for a club like Cheltenham Town? Or is it, we've got a plan for this season, next season, maybe the season after, and you just have to you take your chances?
Sorry, yeah, you plan for the stakeholders' vision, the board's vision. What is the, so speaking to the chairman earlier today, you recruit that to that plan. So yes is the answer to that, 5 years. And I think if you look, we looked previously is that the problem I find at Cheltenham is, that you guys can tell me if I'm wrong here, is that the most successful teams at Cheltenham have had men in it, would you say? Men? Yeah, not so many youngsters. I know there's been some good young talent, but and I was saying to the chairman today, for me is the tightness of the pitch and what the club is. It's a bit of a men's club to, to be successful or to stay in League One. And this is the balance, you see, because the club will want to build saleable assets, rightly so, most clubs do, or whatever level. But you can never take your eye off of trying to make the first team in games as well. Does that make sense? But you can plan around that, So if you probably look at it, the players who we've got, like your Elliot Bonds, Lewis Freestone for 2. 2 players that were probably brought to the club when they were 19, 20, am I right in saying? They probably the club looked at they could be saleable assets in 2-3 years' time if they played the amount of games. Will Goodwin, for an example, as well, obviously comes from Stoke. A lot of credentials are good about him, big 9, mobile 9. Can we improve him? Can we get him better? There's a saleable asset. So the plan has to be massively indated on the recruitment side of things, to be able to build towards potentially getting enough saleable assets in the team, but also making sure you've got enough men to win your football matches. And the balance is key.
And where does that leave you, just personally as a manager, where does that leave you in relation to loan players and the proportion of loan players around the football club? Because we've kind of had our fair share the last few seasons.
Yeah.
Some of which have worked,
Yes.
some of which obviously don't.
Yeah. The brutal reality is that Cat 1 clubs produce better players than Cat 3 clubs because they've got more money to do that. However, I do say this, is that loans are good if they're coming from the right environment, what fits Cheltenham's team, because it can save you on playing budget, that allows you to spend money elsewhere. However, hitting on loans, if I'm saying, you know, I've managed 600 games, and I think most managers that have managed it, you might hit 2 in 6, 2 in 7. That's the risk of the loan market.
Yeah.
You know, and ideally, I wouldn't have any loan. That's just me personally. I wouldn't, because you like to promote your own youngsters, but they've got to be good enough. Does that make sense? Or getting the right balance, like I said earlier, maybe getting the 4, 5, 20, 21-year-olds that have probably been at bigger clubs, that you've got to re-coach them to this level to try and kick on their careers again. And 1 or 2 non-league gems as well.
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking about, you know, developing and reselling, you know, developing players, be that from the academy or be that from clever recruitment,
Yeah.
well, loan players, you're developing players for somebody else. You're not
There
doing
you-
it.
there you go. You know, that's the nature of the beast. And like I said, if I had an option not to get loan players in, I'd take it.
Okay.
Yeah, but the club's probably been successful on some good loans as well. Would you agree?
Callum Wright
Well,
springs to mind. Yeah.
They're not all duck eggs.
Yes. Just a hand up.
Yeah, in the last year or 2 years, we've lost people in those departments, haven't we? You know,
Mickey Moore and
yeah,
Pete Johnson.
they've gone like that. So I mean, Darrell's got another sort of job there, because have we got that sort of network so that we can be looking for those sort of players around this area as well? Do you know what I mean?
Well, you mean academy players or players?
For youngsters coming in, you know, I know we've got 1 or 2, haven't we, that are in the defence and such like, that have been on the bench and all that sort of thing. But have we still got that network still going? Because it seemed at the time as if we were it for 6, if you like, when we had the players going to other Shrewsbury.
We've got our academy's in a really good state at the minute.
It is, yeah.
It's really well run, and we've got a good network of people out there looking for the youth. Yeah, without question. And in terms of the first team, we've got a scouting team. I mean, obviously Russ is the head of the scouting, but we've got others as well that go out to games regularly, and you've got all the equipment and
So
facilities.
Russ is still on the job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Yes.
Darrell, this one for you. Ian Bullock's only signed at the end of the season. Is there any new assistant manager coming in for next season?
I'll assess everything. I'm getting well with him. Yeah. I'll assess everything come the end of the season on all aspects of the club, of, you know, like finding out the plan, working on the plan, and see how we're moving forward on all aspects. But what we'll say, Ian's very experienced manager stroke assistant. He's come in to sort of help me at the football club, and we'll see where the future lies. So I'll probably swerve that.
Yes. This probably sounds a naive question, but they all do actually. What I'm puzzled about is what are the objectives of the existing shareholders? I mean, would they permit some additional shareholding money coming into the club, or are they just going to sit tight until they die, basically, and hold the club where it is?
No, I don't think for one moment that the shareholders will adopt the position that you've just suggested, i.e. just let the club die. No, they definitely will not do that. I mean, they all...
No, I think that the idea was, it's the only way that they'd be prepared to give up control of the club by them dying. That was your point.
Basically, I'm just trying to figure out, is there any, I don't doubt for one instant that you're pushing this as much as you can. What I'm puzzled about is, what is their objective? Why wouldn't they, for example, allow additional shares to be sold? I appreciate that dilutes their holding, but
Yeah.
they're it's so massive, their holding, that they're not surrendering control necessarily.
Yes, they would definitely allow new investment. I mean, it may be the case that one or both of them would be prepared to sell their interest in the club to the right person. I think the key there would be finding the right investor. That is absolutely key. You want someone who's got not only the resources, but has got the interests of the club basically as its forefront priority.
What about shares being available to locals, for example? Because people who put in small amounts of money could then, you know, a friend of a friend, or, you know, they find some more money. Maybe, who knows, we have a lottery winner. But what's the chance that we, because we can't just sit here forever.
Yeah, sure. I mean,
we've got.
I don't think that it would probably be sensible to sell shares in blocks of 10 or 11 at £1.50 a head. It would have to be a reasonably substantial shareholder.
When I say small.
No, I know what you're saying, but you're saying, you know, let's see if the wider audience, the fan base would invest some money in it. So, yeah, I'm quite sure that the shareholders would be open to that, but it would need to be, you know, reasonable sums. It would have to be reasonable sums that they would invest, because otherwise you get a rather fragmented basis of ownership. Because if you've got many people, then it's very difficult to actually run the club, because there's no individual who can make decisions.
And that is very much what the trust is about. Forgive me if I'm getting it wrong, but the sports trust is absolutely about, you know, involving local people who haven't got a ton of money to chat about, but who want to be engaged financially and otherwise with the football club they support. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Can I say first of all that I share the frustration that has been expressed by a number of people here. When I look at the club, I can't help thinking here in the Cotswolds we have a population of something like 400,000 in North Cotswold. If we take in Gloucester and the surrounding towns, that is a more than adequate basis for sustaining a Premier League club, let alone a Division 1 club. But we don't seem to be able to get them to come and watch football here. And I think there's a number of quite complex historical reasons for that, which I won't bore you all by going into. I'm sustained by the memory of when we used to get 700 to watch us play Dorchester, and there was a roof on the sun there. This is a vastly different setup now than it was as I remember. But there is enormous potential in this club, and I don't think we're going to get, or no, I'll rephrase that. We talk about investors. If somebody invests in the club, they're doing it possibly for two reasons. Either they want to make money out of it, which we should be very wary of, because there's a whole lot of what were aspirational lower league clubs now in much lower league clubs, because they've taken on people who've invested in that way to get money out of, or they want to do it as a vanity project. That is not the situation in Cheltenham. We've got people who are dedicated to the club running it, and we should prize and be grateful for it. You know, those who I know actually work their socks off for Cheltenham. But obviously appreciate the I know we're bringing guinea pigs in the next bag, but I didn't talk about God. But the fact is, I remember Lincoln City, going back just 10 years ago, they were getting much lower crowds than we were getting. They were non-league and in real trouble. They had a couple of great cup runs and big seasons. Now, a town which is considerably smaller than Cheltenham, and there's nowhere around it that with any population basis, gets gates that are almost double ours. And it is possible to go from one to the other, but you've got to have a couple of successful seasons. And actually, I think the way that the club is developed, that potential is there. And we need a good cup run. And the year that we played Man City, had we only been able to have people in it, so on, I think we would have made far more money than we actually did out of it. Just a matter of bad luck. But that potential is always there. We talk about plans. Yeah, you've got to have a strategy, you've got to have objectives, but there's so many unknowns in football, it's very difficult to have somebody that will mathematically almost take you from one stage to the other. It's a question of sustaining yourself at one level, taking the right decisions to develop to another level, and I think there's enormous potential here. What I would like to see is discussions with the council about the long-term development. And this won't happen overnight. Long-term development of this club, because one of the reasons you can't get big crowds here is because they come here and they see what is essentially a non-league club, and we're in a very aspirational area. People will go to big clubs, and that is a real sort of perception problem. So I think that if the club could only talk to the council and try and work out some sort of strategy in the long term for either developing this ground or finding a new ground, that would be something to look for. But I think we can also develop what we've done. The kids for a quid seems to me to have been phenomenally successful. We've had very good games, often for relatively unattractive games, and needs to be developed. And I wonder whether it could be incorporated into the season ticket policy as well, but that's a detail that I'll leave to you. And the rest, I have to say, I think the club this season particularly has improved enormously in its communication with the fan. And despite the fact that we had the most horrendous start in our history, our gates have held up.
In anybody's history, mate,
Yeah.
never mind ours.
Well, it always got us more publicity, but it's actually, our gates have held up. I would be interested in knowing what the relative proportion of visiting and home fans is, but my perception is certainly that our home support has not declined in spite of it, which is indicating that at least we've reached one level. We've now got to develop to the next level, and that means developing the good practice that we've done so far, and also demonstrating that we have got aspirations and visions for the futures, so that people can get on board and be part of it.
I completely agree on 2 points. So first of all, the kids for a quid, that's an easy way to answer that. That's trying to invest in the future. That's investing in our future support, because obviously, it's not a big revenue spinner for us to have a lot of places in the stadium occupied at £1 a piece. So it doesn't make us money, but it's an investment for the future in terms of our fan base. So that's a positive, and it has been successful, you're quite right. In terms of working with the council, again, that is something that we've been doing since I've been in the chair. I hate to think how many meetings I've had with them, how many hours I've spent at the council offices, in my office, here at Warden Road. It was only 6 weeks ago, 4 council officers here upstairs in Boardroom, talking to them about the site, the redevelopment, what we'd like to do, how we'd like to achieve it. But these things, council don't turn around and just say, right, well, we're going to put public money into the football club. It's not an easy nut to crack, believe me. And in terms of other investments, I've spoken in the last few weeks to an international company that operates very locally, 2 big other companies and a smaller company. We have tremendous competition against in this area from the Premier Rugby. A lot of businesses go for Premier Rugby because it is Premiership and because it is a rugby county fundamentally. We also have a lot of competition from racing. We've got a Rolls-Royce racecourse just up the road, which again is competition. I'm not talking about match day fans coming in, I'm talking about commercial revenue, sponsorship. I know that people invest in the horse racing and they say to me, you know, we're investing in this or investing in that. One of the big companies I spoke to recently, their policy for sponsorship has to be that it has to be for charitable purposes. Big company with a huge budget. They just won't look at us because we're a commercial business. In actual fact, on the back of that, I might have got something for the community trust, but they won't put it into the football club. So there are hurdles, and believe me, you know, I speak to businesses, I speak to the council, we've got some good contacts there, I speak to the stakeholders, I'm acutely aware of the need to generate more money, and it's never out of my thinking when I'm thinking about this club.
Yes.
Following on from that, can I just say a huge thank you to the chair, to the rest of the board, and of course to the manager for what he's achieved this season, because I think we're doing very, very well.
I'm right with you, but we'll see after Stephen is away. But yeah, absolutely. Yes, just time for a couple more. Yeah.
A less heated question. I just wonder, in footballing terms and in financial implications, how does the club react to today's news that there'll be no more FA Cup replays?
Well, from a personal point of view, I think that this is partly systematic of one of the problems we've got. We've got the Premier League's a great product. It's undoubtedly a great product, but it's a product which is greedy, and it dictates and it filters down to everything, because the Premier League generates huge interest in football, but it takes a huge amount of money, which doesn't filter down. Okay? Now, as I see it, the reason for these changes to the rules of the FA Cup is simply so that the big boys have got more time to compete in European competitions. And that means that, yet again, there's a revenue source which is cut off to the lower clubs. I think I saw a figure like, I think there's something like 750 clubs enter the FA Cup every season. So the Premier League clubs represent 3% of the participants in the competition. And yet the FA and the Premier League carved up a deal between them which says that we, the EFL and below, will not have replays. So if we happen to draw a decent tie, and they come here and we get a draw, we won't be going off to Anfield or Old Trafford, because we'll just have to take it on penalties and take what we've got. So I'm very cynical about it. I'm very cynical about it, and I'm also very, very disappointed with the way things have gone in terms of the fabled Premiership money. You know, we have not budgeted for any income from that at all last year or indeed this year. I know for a fact of one club that basically last year took into account a sum which they said they did get last season, and that's reflected in part of their losses which have been generated. I'm not going to say who it is, but I do know a club. So, you know, it's just so frustrating. And I think just going back to the wage structure as well, that filters down, because these Premiership players get these mega sums. I mean, some Premiership players probably earn more in a month than our entire squad does in a season. That's the truth of the matter. And I'm not suggesting that, you know, the Premiership isn't a good product. Of course it is. But all that expectation of salary, it all filters down. Since I've been on the board, our wage bill has gone up by more than £1 million a year. Since I've been on the board, 2016. No.
Yeah. Obviously, that's not just driven by.
No, it's not just driven, but it's a factor. It's a factor. It definitely filters down. All of those things.
It filters up as well. Though I'm talking about clubs like Wrexham, Chesterfield, Stockport, Nottingham, European National League, and paying players twice or three times.
Absolutely. It sounds like Darrell, what's your reaction to not having a chance to get a draw and go to a...
Yeah, I think it's very sad, and just listen for me. I'd like to say the FA rule our game. They don't. The Premier League rule our game. That should never be the case. You know, the money talks, and until they get that sorted, and there's a lot of issues sorted, and loads of debates, obviously, but time for action, because it's if you look at when the England team gets announced and all those teams, a lot of those players have played EFL.
Yeah.
They played in the lower leagues, they've gone out to the lower, and so, you know, we're feeding, you know, a high percentage of those players don't get to the levels they get unless they get some of the experience in the lower levels.
Or are developed at
Yeah.
EFL clubs in the first place. You
Yeah,
know,
as
you
well,
look at
developed, yeah.
starting 11s, and you know, usually between 4 and 6
Yeah.
of an England starting 11.
Yeah.
I think, you know, you think of people like Pickford, like Stones,
Yeah.
like Walker, these are players who, never mind coming on loan,
Yeah.
so they're developed by EFL clubs.
Well, it's like the FA's speaking there about for 750 teams. How does that work? You know, they make a decision on what, because the Premier League are going to give them loads of money to say that they don't have replays. So basically, it's the top that run the levels of football, which they're trying to get the regulator in, isn't it, to sort it and distribute it. So, well, hey, we'll see.
Yet the Football League bends over backwards by allowing their under-21 teams into the EFL trophy to give them match practice. But what are we getting back for that? Maybe the Football League should turn around and say, okay, you can't have your under-21 teams in the EFL trophy anymore. Maybe a bit of tit for tat with that.
Yes.
We once apparently forgot to enter the FA Cup. If all the EFL clubs did the same thing this year, that would stuff their idea out.
Say that again.
We forgot to enter the FA Cup at one time. If everybody in the EFL did it this year, that would scupper their plan, wouldn't it? If everybody...
Oh, there's some long memories in this one, don't worry about that.
I thought I was going to say we forgot this year, but that's
Our experience of mine, I think we forgot that, yeah.
To be honest, I would love to get to a third round and not have a replay. Just to get there would be
Absolutely. Yes, one last question and then we'll...
Ignoring on this, but when are we going to improve the stewarding of the away funds?
Yeah.
In recent, I've written to the club on previous years and I've just been told, yeah, things will be improved, I put forward suggestions and it's all just kicked into touch. We play the big teams here and the crowd is out of control.
Yeah.
They are out of control. And you're on about creating an atmosphere for us. It's like to go into Galatasaray away. When we played Exeter, a lot of the fans migrated from the right-hand side of the stand and went to the corner where the flares were set off. Why? I just don't understand it. They bought a ticket for a seat. I'm not asking them to sit down, but why can't they be made to stand or sit at their seat? It's a joke. And the thing is, a couple of seasons ago, you actually had to send the police in, and I was saying to the stewards, do you want to go in there? They go, no. Because it's out of control.
Yeah.
You've got to deal with it before it happens.
Yeah.
Why are they allowed to... Apparently that must be an emergency exit, the footpath sort of behind the hoarding. Why are they allowed to stand there? It's a joke. And Paul's replied, and it's a joke, I'm sorry, because I've been battling on about this for years.
Well, the answer is to spend more stewards, get more stewards in.
No, it's not. I disagree. If you've got blokes who are sort of 6 pints in, it's a waste of time trying to make them conform when there's 50 of them all in a group. You've got to have that area marked on the floor, can't stand there. You haven't got to have big bully boys, you just have female stewards go out before the game started, don't mind them leaning on the hoardings while they're pre-match sort of training or whatever like, but as soon as the players go in, I'm sorry guys, you've got to go to your seat. If you don't go to your seat, you'll be removed from the ground. There's just one or two then.
Yeah, we tried that on Saturday. We ended up with 17 ejections, 4 arrests, 7 assaults, female steward punched in the face. So the only answer is to spend more money.
And if against the law, having flares all the time, why are they allowed? How are they getting the flares into the work in the first place? How many times was flares sent off? Flares thrown onto the pitch? 3 or 4 times? And there might be people around it who had brilliant difficult period.
Sorry, I appreciate that it's an issue, but my point is you deal with it before it's an issue. And from what I'm seeing in this land, and I'm looking across, it's not. But blokes who are like 6, 8 pints in, they don't like being pushed around.
It's not pints, it's the problem.
Or drugs, whatever.
Can I say something? I'm 89 and I researched down it, Danny. He made me research me right down. Yeah. I've been coming here since I was 77 season and he searched me down. And he did last week.
He didn't find you pyros, did he?
That was it. I'm 89, so I was out down in there lot, and that's why I want to go. How's it going to get theirs in when the kids is in after into the top?
Well, isn't it two different companies? One company's doing the home and another company's doing the away.
I mean, they search.
It seems to me the away stewards aren't very good.
No.
I get searched and I'm 75.
Yeah.
It's a highlight of your match day, isn't it?
Mike is a troublemaker. Yeah, he is a troublemaker. He should be.
The impression is, the impression seems to be that the away fans are allowed to get on and do what the hell they like.
Yeah.
Basically. So, as I say, there were fans behind that hoarding on Saturday. I saw Luke Southwood go up to the referee holding back his head as if he had something thrown at him. I don't know if he did or not. So it just seems that the impression is that away fans can do what they like while home fans are clamped down on. Because there were about 10 stewards looking at block 1, watching what they're doing while the away fans are doing, and seemingly, according the impression being that they're just allowed to do what they want.
So,
and wrongly or rightly, Clive? Wrongly or rightly?
I'm just going to explain it. So, I'm not a safety officer. I'm a finance director, so I'm not anything. I've got no qualifications in terms of safety. Okay. But I do routinely walk around the ground and I go up in the control tower before every game, or every most game that I can go to, okay? I go and speak to our safety officer, I'll speak to the police, just a bit of a head on how things are going, nothing more technical than that because, hey, I'm not now going to start telling them what to do because I've got no skills in that sort of area. But just to say on a few things, okay, because I do see, I am at now, I do witness things, I do watch them, how they control, we've got CCTV camera, they watch your way out. So, one of your questions about are there different stewards? We employ lots of different stewards. Some groups might just be doing home end, some groups might be doing away. It's not just one does a home and one does away. Okay, we have different agencies that we come in and steward the ground. In terms of searching, away end is searched, because I see it on the CCTV. So yes, away end are searched. There's police there, there's stewards there. But come to your point about pyros and how do you get them in? Okay. Yeah, they are small. So when you've got 200-300 people turning up at the same time and being searched, you're going to get some through. Okay? That's a risk that some people take. I watched now, I can't remember what game it was. There was a game recently where the police even spoke to an away supporter in town and said, "You're being watched today," and he still tried to walk in with pyro because they stopped him and had rejected him. Okay, so some away supporters might have drink, they might have they run a risk, they don't care. They even spoke to him in time by the policeman to say, "You're being watched today, be on your best behaviour." He thought, "No, I'm not." Well, more fool him because he didn't come in. Okay, so they are checked, okay, because you do have certain big games, you have police spotters. Saturday, let's be honest, the police turned up, we were a bit, whether it was under-resourced, whether we under-allocated, whether we under-expected them, whatever, okay, they did cause trouble. Okay, so yes, it isn't that one group's selected and one group's not. What I will say as well is when you look at the makeup of the home and away supporters, okay, away supporters tend to be adults. Okay, and I know that from the finances from when I look at big away followings versus home followings, away supporters in general, not always, but in general, tend to be full-paying adults. Okay, so again, I'm not
full-paying adult men.
Probably, but again, I've got no facts behind that, but more than likely. Okay, so normally when you're in a home end, you've got children, you've got other people, you're a little bit less. Okay, so whether they cause a bit more trouble because they're adults, men, maybe, okay, pack mentality. Okay, so it's not that they're just allowed to get where they are. I do get your thing about standing in front of the where it is all painted. Okay, yes, they do stand there. Yes, there's regular communication of go and walk it. Okay, so there is a communication and action that tends to happen. It doesn't always happen right at kick-off, but what you quite often see is the stewards will then go and walk that, and after 5 or 10 minutes push people into the stands. When you've got a big away following, it makes it a little bit more difficult. Okay, we've all been to away games as well. When there's a big pack of people, it is a little bit more difficult to control than when it's smaller. Okay, but it's certainly not that the away fans are allowed to get away with whatever the large and home fans are. Appreciate some of you might be older, okay, and say why should I be searched?
But didn't worry.
There isn't a law that says a 75-year-old man can't take a fire into so you might be the one.
I don't
Sorry, one last question. Yes.
It's not a question, it's really just Clive said some of what I was going to say. It's not as simple as the stewards, it's a much more global picture. Pyros are not illegal to buy, anyone can buy them. They are the size of a small pen. They are inserted into places that stewards are not allowed to search.
Where's that exactly?
between the arse cheeks.
Somebody throws something at the goalkeeper and they look at the CCTV in the tower and there's 800 people with their hands in the air. They can't identify who's done it. It's a much bigger problem than just the stewards, and it needs addressing on a much bigger level. The Football Supporters Association tried really hard to address it, but it's because
there's an issue.
Changes in society.
Look, it's only a couple of years ago we had the flagship final of a major international tournament at the National Stadium with the Metropolitan Police and God knows how many hundreds of stewards. It's worse than it ever got down here. Do you know what I mean? It is, you're right. It's not to say you can't make improvements and do things better, but you do need a little bit.
I've heard people complain that they've been searched and they've had their wallets looked at. I also know that some people file down pieces of metal with sharp edges the size of a credit card and put them in their wallets to get into nightclubs and places. This is a much bigger issue than just the stewards. It's out of control, and I think the stewards actually, the ones I've met here, are very caring, very kind, and they do work hard.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but stewards' responsibility are primarily to do with crowd safety, not crowd control. They're not, we go back to 89, there's that culture of just crowd control, with no interest in crowd safety.
Excuse me, but my argument is it's not safe.
Yeah.
That's my argument. If you've got half the stand up here empty, where are they? It's obvious they're over in that corner. How were they allowed to drift that way? Who's in charge of that? You don't do it when they're all there. I don't know. It just makes me really cross.
There was enough stewards that were open. A lot up there, where they were doing nothing.
We've talked about a lot. You'll have noticed, Darrell. We've talked about the need for a new stand. We've talked about selling players as way it keeps things going. We've talked about shortcomings in safety at the away end. That's because you've got a room full of people who are too nervous to talk about the football. So whatever you do, don't talk about the football. I'm hanging on by my fingernails here. But I would like it's been a great hour and a half, and thank you all for the questions, and thanks to David and to Darrell. Just talk to me about football for a minute. Where are we? What's
We're right. We know where we are. We know where we are. We're in the relegation zone. And there's not a lot.
Yeah, I was going to ask the manager.
Listen, the Tuesday night game will give the boys a massive confidence lift. It was a massive game, and we've lost a few big games recently, so that'll give the boys the confidence. And then we'll try and get the game plan right. I'll try and get the game plan right. Try and go and beat Lincoln, because we've shown we can beat any team on that day. We've had some really good results. And like I said, the boys are in a good place after Tuesday night. So
have you got an idea in your head what it's going to need between now and Steve, if you want.
It could be, and that's the interesting thing, Tom. It could be anything, couldn't it?
Yeah.
Because there's no guarantee Burton's going to win another game, or you're just guessing. We have to take care of our own business. So I've always been of that mindset. Is we can't worry about anybody else. We've missed, like I said, we missed those opportunities early to get out of the bottom four, but it's still in our hands, and we have to take care of ourselves. Do I have an eye on the other results and how they're going on? Yes, I wouldn't be doing my job properly if that wasn't the case. But we have to take care of our own business.
And how's availability and how close are you to being able to pick who you want Saturday, Tuesday, and then Saturday again?
The team's picked. We worked on it.
Oh, good. And that is
tomorrow. We're not doing their managing job for them tonight. But listen, we'll be as best prepared as we possibly can be. Obviously, we're game after game at the minute, so getting the recovery into the right boys has been key. But we'll have a game plan to go and try and beat Lincoln at home.
I love how managers talk about, I've got to work on recovery. What about us?
That was my recovery, by the way.
Absolutely. Well, look, good luck Saturday. Good luck Tuesday.
Can I ask one more question?
Yeah.
Please. Why was waiting so long?
That's actually true. You don't that is a really good question, but it's not a question for now. We've got 3 games to stay in the league.
Yeah.
What happened with Wade is then. This is Darrell, and this is the players that are going to be playing the game.
What happened now is because of what happened.
Yeah. But all that matters is what happens now.
But
We've got 3 games, we've got a
that
week.
was the cause of it, though.
We've got a week.
That was the cause of it.
There will be a time for that question, but that ain't right now.